Hello, my name is Jahg and welcome to another episode of Jahg Teaches Java. Now in the last episode we finished up our quick creative plugin. It allows you to use commands, it allows you to use permissions attached to those commands, and that's an excellent start for most plugins. But not all plugins are going to be just command based. They might have elements of that, a few commands built into the thing, but there's also a second aspect to a plugin, which is events. When a certain thing occurs in game, you want this to happen. And it's unpredictable when that thing might occur, so you've got to kind of listen for those events. And when something occurs, respond to it. Now, examples of those might be when a player joins, give them an apple. Or when a player leaves, I don't know, save their data in a file. So there are various events that are built into the Bukkit API. Now in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to create a totally new plugin that's not really going to do much, but that is going to demonstrate events, because this is going to be needed for almost every other plugin we're going to need. Now it's just an ordinary Java application, and next we need to make sure it's in the plugins folder, which it is. And that's our own documents folder, not the server's plugins folder. And we need to give it a name. So I am just going to call this events test. That's a good name for now. Don't create a main class, doesn't need one, because we are going to do that. Or rather, Bukkit provides the main class. So now we've got this empty plugin full of nothing. And if you remember, we need to actually put the library, the Bukkit API library, into here. I don't know if I can copy and paste it. No, I can't. So I've got to add the jar file. There it is. So now we have access to the the Bukkit API. Now I'm going to do what I would normally do when starting a new project. Firstly, you need to click it in this project's hierarchy. We've got two open now. So how does it know which one to run? So you click the top one, in this case, because that's events list, it'll be alphabetized, so you'll need to be aware of that. And I need to set the main project. Now on the run menu, set main project, and then you choose the one you want to run by default. It'll go bold in this list. You can't really see it there. There we go. It's bold to indicate that's the active one. Once you've done that once, you can right-click any other one to set it as the main project. That option isn't in the menus, I don't think, until you've chosen it once from up here. So I've made it the main project. The second thing I would normally do is every single plugin has to have a YML file, so why not just copy one from your existing project? So I just copied the one out of here, pasted it into here. Now obviously I need to change some things. I need to change this to say events test, that's what I called it. I need to change this part to say it, and events test, apparently I cannot type correctly. And then we need to copy in some Java code. So there we go. This is going to be back to version 1 again. The description of this plugin is just a events demo, so not particularly exciting because it's not going to do anything particular. I don't think there will be any commands, and it won't need permissions for now. So temporarily, I think I'm just going to comment those out. That symbol is a comment. You saw it, I think, in the... Oh, that symbol is not. Let's undo that. You saw it in a previous episode where I was talking about permissions files, and you could see there were a ton of comments got put in automatically. This is a comment in a YML file, not in a Java file. So that's my YML file done. Nothing else needs tweaking there. The other thing I need is some code. The easiest way to do that is, again, to copy some existing one, but I need to create the package for it to go in, which is this. I need to create a folder called that lot. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to create a new package, right-click the source packages thing, new, Java package. I should be able to put in the whole lot of that, and it will create the subfolders for me. Click Finish, and there it is. So now I'm able to paste in the old code from the other plugin, paste it onto the package, and it will ask me a question. It'll ask me about copying the class, and it'll have selected which package do I want to put it in. Well, I've only got the one, and specifically I clicked on it to paste it, so that should be right. The new name for this class is I keep doing that, events test. There we go. Now I can tick this box, and it's got the words copy without refactoring. I don't want to tick that. Refactoring is good for us. It means that wherever I've used the old name, Quick Creative, in the pasted copy, it will update it to this, and I want to do that. So I'm going to refactor that, And there we go. And you can see it's changed the name here. It's changed the name here in the package name, but all the code is still the same. So nothing in there's changed. So it is actually, I believe, still buildable because I haven't actually modified anything except the name. Now, at this point, I need to think about deleting some of this other stuff because I'm not going to have commands. So I'm just going to delete everything that it's put inside this new plugin. The only reason I copied and pasted it was to get the basic framework in there. And sometimes you might find that you've got a plugin that does something similar already, so you just need to copy and paste it and tweak them. Now that's ideal situation right there. So now you can see I've deleted those. You can see that I now have some errors up here. These aren't really errors, they're warnings. Errors appear in red, I think, and they show it as red in the margin over here as well. By the way, you can click these things to go straight to those points. That's what these are all about. These are warnings that I don't actually have any that I'm not using these imported statements. So I can actually get it to clear that up with Alt-Enter and then organize imports. And it leaves only the ones that it's used in this code. Well, there aren't any, so it's only minimized it to 1. Okay, so we've got our empty project. And just for laughs, let's just build this to make sure it does. So there we go, it's built. There's our new project with its distribution folder. There's our new plugin. Empty plugin that does nothing is currently 2K. Amazing. Now, we want to talk about events now. So, what events do I want to handle? Well, let's start with basic ones like onPlayerJoin. So when a player joins, you want a message to be given or something. So that's where I'll start. Now, events are a very specific piece of code. They start with this word, which is event handler, and I'm going to press Control Space, and it's going to put in an import for me. Because it's a special piece of code. This is called an annotation. Anything with this @ sign at the beginning is an annotation. It basically modifies the way the code works underneath. So when it builds it, it knows that an event handler is a very specific type of piece of code. Close enough. So it's added this import. I was Control Space to put that in up here. Or of course I could have typed this import statement manually. Now it's an error at the moment because it's not attached to anything. So I now need to create another method. Remember, a method is a block of code that returns a value of some sort, or void, meaning no value, and which has a name. Now, the event handlers have to be fairly specific. You can name them anything you like. I think this returns a void. The event I want to handle is called playerJoin. So I normally create a method with that name, onPlayerJoin. Now, that's not enough on its own. If I just put in the braces, there we go. So I've got no code there yet. That's not enough on its own, because there's actually some information that's given to this automatically when a player joins. How will this bit of code know who has joined, and therefore who to send a message to, or who to give an apple to? So the way this works is you give it parameters in here. Now, the parameters you give it usually are based on the names of the event you're handling. So this is a player join event, and you can see I've typed the first couple of bits of that, and it's come up in the list, and you can see the namespace to which that belongs, the package it belongs to, org.bukkit.event.player. So if I press enter on that, it will put a new import statement in for me, good, and then I just need to give it a name. Now this is normally given the name event, but it doesn't have to be. You can have any name you like here that isn't a built-in keyword. I couldn't call it int, right? So that's what we've got at the moment. So on player join, we pass in this information. It's going to happen automatically. I don't need to do anything to actually get this working once I've got this here. And at this point, we can write some code that finds out who has connected. So for instance, I could write event dot, and you see a list of all the things that have happened here, right, that are included in this particular on player join. For instance, how do I find out who this is who's just joined the game? Well, getPlayer is a method of this particular event. So I can use getPlayer. You can see it's a method because of the brackets and the red blob here. It returns a player. If you remember, we did some code with that before. So I'm going to repeat that. Player, then lowercase player name, which is player in this case, equals event.getPlayer. Now, that's a good start. So we're now already using familiar code. Now, once again, I need to click at the end of that word there, player, press Control Space, and it wants to use this. That's not what I want. If I press control space again, it gives me the full list. I just want this one. So there we go. It's added another import statement at the top. Now it understands our code. It's still got this wavy line under here, but that's because I haven't done anything with that yet. So then we can do all the stuff we did before. If you remember, we had some code that did if is op, for instance, and you can see that it's coming up in the list, so it must exist. So we can already use existing code that we've seen before. Now all I want to do is when the player joins, I want to send them a message. Now we did that before as well. We had send player.send, not send meet, send message. And I can say, welcome back, whoever they are. So to find out who they are, remember we can do this. We can do player.getName or get display name if you're using some sort of plugin that alters tag names and allows them to set colors and use sort of display names. We can use that. I'm just going with get name because I want that instead. I think it was get name. Yep, returns a string. So now it'll just say welcome back Bob or whoever they are when they join. That's a good start. So with that good start, what we're going to do is one more piece. At the moment we've got an event handler that's correctly set up to handle an event, but at the moment if we were to run this in our server, it wouldn't give us the expected result because it doesn't yet know that it should listen for these events. It's not hooked up. The server doesn't know to send the events to this plugin, so it doesn't receive this information. Now in order to do that, we have to change a few things. The first is we have our class defined up here. It says the plugin is called Events Test. It extends the built-in Java plugin, which doesn't do very much on its own. But now we need to say that it also implements what's called a listener, because it has to listen for the events that we've asked for. If I can type it correctly, it would be good. There we go. Now that's all I need. Once again, I need control space. I need to pop in the listener. Notice it's org.bukkit.event that we're looking for. So now it's put in another import statement, so it knows about this particular word here. Extending something and implementing something are slightly different. You can extend one class, but implement lots of other things. This one implements listener. It's only one of the possible things that we could implement in our code. Now, having this here means I can listen for this event. Without it, it wouldn't know to actually run this ever. Now, that's not enough either. At the moment, it just says, well, we're going to listen for some events, but it doesn't know how to, when it receives an event, it doesn't know who to send it to. Does it send it to this bit of code? Am I going to have another Java source file that it should send it to? So I need to do one more piece. And this brings us back to the override. Now, we had an override previously, which overrode one of the built-in methods, which was called the onEnable, and it's overriding an existing one. So it appears like that. There we go. And this runs whenever our whole plugin is enabled. So the moment our plugin loads, we want it to tell the Bukkit server that we implement a listener, so it should listen for these events. So in the onEnable, and you only need one of these regardless of how many events you're going to handle in this one file. In this we need at least one line of code now. We need get server, which is built in, so I can do get server dot something, and you can see from here that I can run commands like banning IP addresses, adding recipes. That's an interesting one if you're going to create like a recipe manager style plugin that adds, I don't know, more explosive TNT that's enchanted in some way, or something like that. I don't know. Enchanted gravel, who knows, with knockback 10. So get server allows you to run server commands. We can use it to get the plugin manager. Or the unspellable. There we go. Plugin manager. Because the plugin manager allows us to do things with it. We want to register our events. So I'm going to use this third one, register events. Now all it needs to know is which class has got the listener on it. Well, this. We can use the keyword this to mean this particular code here. And then it needs to know another thing. It needs to know which plugin does it belong to, because we can send events to different plugins, or send different events to different plugins if we wanted to, but we'd have to load them. The plugin can also be this, because that's also extending this. So these two words here mean I can use this code here. Now the keyword this means the currently running instance of this bit of code. Now we're going to come back to that in a later bit of code, later example. So on enable, when our plugin first gets loaded, it says to the server, get the plugin manager and register the particular events that are written right here so that it can handle them. That's all we need to do. As I say, you only need one of these, regardless of how many of these you have. Now, if I build this, it should build, and I should then be able to copy it in to my example here. And I'm going to pop it in the update. There we are. I've got a version of it there. I'm going to reload. No errors. There we go. So it's loaded version 1. And we should then be able to see whether our message ever comes up. Let's do that now. Let's go to this server itself, and let's see where we are here. Ta-da! It worked, because right here we have welcome back jahg, and it's snowing again. Lovely. So that's that. Now, of course, we could do magical things with this. If I disconnect from that for a moment, actually let's quit from that. We could do magical things with this. We could say welcome back, whoever they are, but maybe you want to hard code a few names in there. You could very easily write some code that gets the name from the player and checks to see if it equals a particular string. So if it equals jahg, for instance, then we might want to do something very specific. Let's say, I don't know, we also want to send another message. So player.send message, and we can say, I don't know, honk. Yeah, that's a good thing to say. So now I've got an extra bit of code, if it's me, all in the same event there. Now, that's useful, but you might be thinking, well, player join, there's not a lot I can do with that. Well, there are all sorts of things you can do with that. Every time a player joins your server, you could add their name to a list so that you could keep track of how many players have joined your server. You could, when they join, you could see if it's their first time joining, and if so, then give them like a welcome package of some sort, 2 apples and a wooden spoon. There's all sorts of things you could do with on-player join, but what other things are there to do with players? Well, if you go to the Bukkit library, let's just close that one, Bukkit library here, and if we explore this, you can see there's lots of namespaces which we looked at before. If you scroll down to org.bukkit.event and onwards, you can see there's the basic event one, but there's items below it: block, enchantment, entity, inventory, painting, player, server, vehicle, weather, and world. Now these are all categories of events. We are using one from the player set because of the name at the beginning here. If you look at the player namespace, you can see within it there are a whole lot of classes, and if you click one of them, it will show you the details of them. Basically, if it has event as its name, player fish event, that means we can write an event handler for it. I'm tempted to do that, but you can see there's all sorts here. On player kick, when the player gets kicked from the server for being a noob, when their level changes in game with XP, when they shear a sheep. It's not player shearing, that's weird. There's when they teleport, when they toggle flight, and so on and so forth. So different events. So there's on-player join, there's also on-player quit, which is another one that you can write code against to save some data. Let's try, I have never used it, but let's try this player fish event. I have no idea what we're going to make it do, but it's basically another event handler, so I'm just going to throw in event handler because we know it is. I assume it's not going to return anything. I guess we'll find out. On player fish, and then in here one assumes it's player fish event, because that's the name it was here of this class, apparently so. I'll call it event. You can reuse this word here because it's in a different block, so you don't need to worry about using different names. So at this point I might be able to write some code here that does something if they fish. So when they I don't know whether it's when they start fishing or what, but what's inside event? Well, we can see get player is here again. Get state might be interesting. What's this? Gets the state of the fishing. And if I click this, we can see it's an enumeration. It's actually in here. player fish event state. You can see, have they caught a fish? Have they failed in their attempt? Are they currently fishing? And so on. So let's see when this actually fires by just throwing in a message. Player.sendMessage, and then we'll throw in fishing as an example. Oh, keep putting the @ sign, and now I've got rid of the G. Oh dear. There we go. Now, if I build this, let's see what we get. Oh, we haven't got a player yet. It's well, I can't. You can also use the whole get player thing directly, so that would also work. It's usually more efficient to get the player and store it locally, as we have here, and then reuse it. If you've got multiple lines of code, if you've only got one line of code that's using the player, then just grab it directly from the event. So I should be able to build this now, and let's see if and when this event ever fires. With a lot of this code, a lot of the events that are built in, it's not necessarily unpredictable when they're going to occur, but if an event looks right to you, try putting it in, just put a message in and see if it's getting displayed at the right time for you. Because sometimes it's kind of a combination of different events to get what you want. So, okay, I've got my fishing event in there. I'm going to copy this into my update folder. There it is. I'm going to reload the server, so it's got that latest version, and then just quickly throw myself back into Minecraft and let's fish. Now, of course, we're in a snow biome, so there's probably no unfrozen water anywhere, and I'll have to hack myself in a fishing rod, but that's the way we penguins roll. So if I go into this one, and oh, hello. It seems to be either getting nighttime or it's been nighttime, so let's just do that. Let's go in here. Oh, okay, there seems to be some unfrozen water here. Ow! Oh, it's raining. Well, that'll improve my chances of catching a fish. Now, I need to hack myself in a fishing rod. Where are they? Tools. Hello. There we go. Let's see. Boop. Oh, there it is. It pops up immediately that you start fishing. So as you can see, we've now got events hooked up in our code. It's amazing. Oh, it also happens when you end the fishing. And there's probably the only two. When you end the fishing, you could probably find out the state of whether you failed at fishing or whether you caught a fish by questioning that, what was it? It was get state, by using if statements with regard to that. So if you did an if statement that said if, oh, I'm going to need brackets on that, if event.getState equals, and then it was player fish event, something like that. Player fish event. I don't think it was called that. Player fish state. I can't remember. I'm going to have to look it up. So to look that up, I'll have to just click on this, and it will tell us it's a state. Player fish event dot state. All right. Okay, I can do that. Player fish event dot state, and then let's say if we failed in the attempt, then we'll put up a message that says, "What a shame." That seems reasonable. At this point, it's more efficient to actually store the player locally rather than doing the get player each time, but that's okay. For now, send message. That will do. Okay. Now you'll notice that I'm just writing a little bit of code, then I'm rebuilding it, and then I'm just testing it individually. That's the best way to attack this type of project, because if you write a whole lot of code all at once, then you're not always guaranteed that when you load your plugin in and give it a test, that what you're seeing as an error, if indeed there are errors, is to do with one bit of code that you've just added, or whether it's up anywhere in that entire section. It's a very bad idea to write every part of your plugin and then test it, because that way lies the bugs. I wish it would stop raining. Wait, I can stop it raining. Boop. There we go. Let's try and fish, and if we just ploink, and then we throw it back in, there we go. There's our old message because I didn't catch a fish, which is amazing. Oh, why did the rain not stop? I do not know. Oh, possibly I don't have permission. Who knows? So at the moment we've got a plugin that's usable and that allows me to fish and or not fish, because I can't fish apparently. Very annoying, but the plugin works. This is how we use events. What you get them to do is entirely up to you. So next time I'll be talking about, I think I'll go through a little bit more of how to use a config file. Every time a player joins, I'm going to add their name to a file. Not useful at all to start with, but that's what we're going to do next. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.